Another terrific Tuesday, and welcome to Coach Leah's After the Whistle. We have some phenomenal guests today. I hope you enjoy watching this live, and if you decide to come back, at your leisure, on demand, I just know that you're going to find this very informative and very fun. Let's go. Again, welcome to this Tuesday's episode of Coach Leah's After the Whistle. And I want to start today, like I start most shows, with a trending topic and also my shameless plugs. So I'm just going to go right into the shameless plug today. Today happens to be the day after one of my goddaughter's birthday. And I would be remiss to not take this opportunity to tell her a happy birthday. And so what I thought we would do is just bring this beautiful spirit on air live so that we can surprise her with a couple things. So Laraea, Starr.
Hi.
Hello, beautiful. Happy
Hi.
Birthday to you.
Thank you.
So this comes from your fan club of God Sisters and myself. Happy birthday, Laraea Starr. Wishing you a day filled with joy, laughter, and all things extraordinary, just like the distinguished diamond that you are. Let's put up our distinguished diamond graphic if we can, because this young lady is definitely that. Now,
thank you.
You are more than welcome.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome, my love. So as many of you know, we spend a little bit of time during our shows talking about our distinguished diamonds, but we're not going to get into a deep dive with Laraea today because she has promised me that she is going to come back on the show and where we will learn more about what she is doing with her life now after our Diamond in the Rough program that she is an alum of. And very much so what is the word? Not well received, but just the work that you're doing now just makes my heart sing. And so I want the world to know about that. But
thank you.
Absolutely, absolutely. So just really quick before we let you go, tell me how you spent your birthday yesterday, if you can.
Yeah, absolutely.
The stuff you can tell.
One of the things that is very important to me and you instilled in me is motherhood. And so I always take the time to really intentionally invest in my daughter. And one of the things that I taught her is the importance of a birthday. We are not guaranteed tomorrow. So I really am big on celebrating the person who you care about and their birthdays in a way that makes them feel special. So she woke up before me and she said, "Mommy, you can sleep in tomorrow." Thank goodness. So kind of her.
Yes.
And she decorated the living room for me and turned on YouTube and put on a happy birthday video. So it started singing happy birthday to me. And we went to go see the Barbie movie yesterday. And that was our mommy-daughter date. And then she took me to dinner and we had a piece of my favorite cake, red velvet. So
of course.
It was everything that I could have imagined to turn 38, and just be able to start a new year in life with her.
Yeah.
So.
That's so beautiful. And thank you for the kind words. And, I just, this, but I really try to walk the walk that I talk. And so to hear you say that, about how I've been able to be that example for you, it means the world to me. And but Absolutely. I have a question for you. How can you be 38 when I'm still 38? That's what I want to know.
Well, Well,
Uh,
I just thought, that would be the perfect age to say,
oh,
but
gotcha.
I could be
Gotcha.
25 tomorrow if you want me to,
Okay,
I'm okay with
absolutely.
that one.
Well, I love it. Well, listen, I want you to have an amazing rest of your week. Celebrate the entire rest of the month, however you
Amen.
choose to do that.
Yeah.
And we look forward to seeing you back on Coach Leah's After the Whistle really, really soon. So, again, so that we can do a deep dive into all the amazing and wonderful, life changing things that you're doing to serve others, as well as continue to grow as a I'm going to use the word amazing, amazing human that you are. So again,
Absolutely.
again, Laraea, thank you so much for joining
Thank you.
us.
I love you
Happy
so much.
birthday. I love you
Thank
too.
you.
Bye bye. Okay, so Laraea's going to get out of here, but one more quick shameless plug. As you know, we are a part of the Insight News family with Al McFarland and McFarland Media, and I want to take a moment to promote the Conversation with Al McFarland, and it's shown weekdays at 1 p.m. Central Standard Time and on demand on youtube.com/ at Insight News MN. I'm normally a guest with Al on Mondays, and I can give you guys quick teases of what you guys might want to, or what you will see on Tuesdays for After the Whistle. So every Monday, you can catch me on the conversation, but throughout the week, be sure to tune in because he has some of the most fascinating topics and fascinating guests on his show. Well, so we're going to just dive right in because we have two guests today that, well, they're just simply phenomenal. They really, really are. The first is our featured guest today, and her name is Deitre Collins-Parker, who is the assistant volleyball coach at the University of Arizona State. Oh, I'm sorry, at Arizona State University. I'm about to make that same mistake again. Now, the mistake is that I misstated her institution on yesterday when I was giving the tease for today's show on the Conversation with Al McFarland. And then I said that Deitre was the assistant volleyball coach at Arizona State. And how dare I credit that other school, your rival school, with your greatness? But let's bring Deitre in real quick and just say hi. And
Hello, and thank you for correcting that.
I know, right? How could I have done that? But I want our guests to know just a little bit about you before we do a deep dive into our conversation today. So here is a little bit about Deitre Collins-Parker, who I also consider a sister, which if you're watching After the Whistle, Coach Leah's After the Whistle, you're finding that I have quite a few phenomenal women that I consider a sister. So let me get to where I want to say this stuff about you, sister. Okay. Oh my goodness. So our featured guest, thank you for your patience. Our featured guest on today's Coach Leah's After the Whistle is the esteemed Deitre Collins-Parker, who with over 20 years of collegiate coaching experience, along with a remarkable year with unlimited boasting and impressive track record, Collins-Parker's tenure as a collegiate coach has a staggering 330 wins, leaving an indelible mark on the sport. The thing that I'm most proud of is the fact that she has used her platform and her role as an assistant and a head women's volleyball coach to make impressed on all the lives of the young women that she has coached in volleyball. She also has had an illustrious career as an Olympian, and we'll talk a lot about that today as well. So with that, I want to welcome back Deitre Collins-Parker.
Hey, Leah.
Hey, as you, so full transparency, I was joking and said, okay, I need LASIK because I am trying to read my own notes and I can't see them.
I had to put
So,
these on. I tried to go without, but I'm like, I might not be
right,
able to see you or see where I'm located without.
right. Well, yeah, we've got to figure this thing out. Either LASIK or the non-glare glasses because of all
Right.
the studio lights and everything. But we're going to get this figured out. So, so Deitre, tell me a little bit about where. Well, let's talk. Let's start at the beginning. Let's tell the people how we became friends and sisters.
Yeah, that's crazy. I was at Cornell and you were at Columbia. And while I was at Cornell, I met my husband. And my husband was a basketball coach at Cornell as well. And y'all would be out on the recruiting road all the time. And he would
Yes.
tell me about you. And then I remember him saying, I met the coach from Columbia. I think y'all would get along. He would say that to me. And then, and then you're just so personable and outgoing. And so when we finally talked, we just kind of hit it off and stayed in touch from then. So,
Absolutely. And that was in 2007.
ooh, good
Can you
memory.
believe? Yeah, yeah. Can you believe that it's been that long
Crazy.
already? I know
Uh,
it's really cool.
Especially when we're only 38.
Girl, thank you. Yes. how, how does that? The math ain't mathing, but we're gonna make the math work today, right?
Right. Started when we were 12. It's all good.
Exactly, exactly. So it was interesting. So right after that next year, you left and got a head coaching position at Arizona. No, I'm sorry,
No,
at San Diego State.
correct.
Yeah, so I remember just being so happy for you because, none of us were really loving the fact that we were in New York and all that snow and cold.
That's right.
Especially with you in Ithaca, because Ithaca weather was even worse than New York City weather.
They knew that when San Diego State came with that offer, I remember my boss saying, just like, there's nothing I can do to talk you out of this, right? I'm like, unless you slept in that snow for me, I need to go back to my roots since I'm from California originally. And honestly, the biggest part of moving back to San Diego was that I was now closer to my mom, which was really important. Is my mom was getting up in age, and I feel so extremely blessed that I had that time because she passed away during my time at San Diego State,
Yes.
and I'm just glad that I was there and close and able to be where I needed to be when I needed to be there. God is good.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. And so shortly after that very next year, then I moved to Texas. And we had been trying to visit each other in each other's cities.
Right.
But one of the things that I know that has been really cool is that your position has afforded you the opportunity to visit. And so we've had a chance to see each other, which is, I always look forward to. You always give me a heads up when you're coming, and I clear my schedule. I just
You
think
sure did.
I just think it's important when you have people that are dear to you, that means, that are important to you, that you really try to be intentional with the time that you spend. And, my time is valuable to me. So I want to spend it around other like-minded individuals, people that just use their life and again their platforms and their positions to make meaningful changes in other people's lives. So that leads me to my first question of how coaching athletes have changed and how has that made you change how you coach?
That's a great question and the question of the century. And sorry, I just noticed the picture of my mom up back. I can't even get the right back there.
Mm.
um, and you definitely have to evolve with the times. And I think about my time at San Diego State, especially I went from never having to deal with parents. Like that was kind of the bonus of coaching college, right? You didn't have parents involved and they were away but within the last 5 years of my time at San Diego State, I went from having one parent conversation over 20 years to having constant, having to deal
Mm,
with parents in some kind of way in my last five. And so you have to embrace the parents. That's one of the changes that has to be made. They're not sitting back and letting the player handle it like they did, like our parents did.
right,
Now
right.
they're making the decisions for them half the time, and so if you try to leave them on the outside, you're not going to get as far as you need to. So that's one way of
Okay,
needing to adapt,
okay.
and just the instant information, the way you communicate with them, uh, staying on conversations on text, which I would say I hate. I need to be able to do because
Mm-hmm.
you can call somebody and they're not going to answer. If you text them and suddenly they reply right away. So just kind of understanding what what the culture is for this generation and being able to work within it is really important. I just came off of coaching some high school kids for our Arizona region, and it was a really great experience. And I was able to tell that young group at the very end that I really appreciated them because they they never felt like they knew it all. They took every bit of instruction that I gave them and tried to be better. And that's a coach's dream. It doesn't
Sure.
happen as often as it used to. And so to walk away from that experience with those kids feeling good that I gave them something that they can take away made my week with this young team amazing, amazing.
Oh, yeah. That and the other thing too that I know that I often had a chance to experience is the gratitude of no, well, the promise that by not worrying about instant gratification is good. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Because a lot of how we are able to pour into their lives won't manifest until maybe 5, 10, 15, even 20 years later.
absolutely. You definitely get those kids that come back later and say, "Hey, I get what you were trying to teach me." And sometimes us as coaches want them to understand that we're just trying to help them, and it's hard to sometimes wait for it 20 years to come back later and say, "Oh, I'm sorry that I acted that way," but it is just as gratifying 20 years later as it is for the kid to from the kid that gets it right now, because you know why you're doing it and you know what you're pouring into them, and the only prayer is that they understand that.
Exactly, exactly. And so that leads me to the thought of the why. Why did we get into coaching in the first place? You know what I'm saying? It's like why
Absolutely.
and what's the why for you?
I felt so incredibly blessed to have been in a sport that showed me things that I would have quite possibly not experienced, whether traveling the world, just competing at a high level. I would say I was blessed to get to go to the Olympics and um, play, in countries that I just didn't expect to ever do. I didn't even dream of it.
Hmm.
Volleyball was the last sport that I picked up. I was basketball, track, everything, softball, you name it, bowling, you did everything else, but volleyball
Right.
wasn't the one. And I lucked into a situation where I got some phenomenal training, and it took me on to go to places I couldn't have dreamed of. And so I know that I always come back saying I want the athletes to just have a chance to do something they maybe would not have done if they chose to come. But since they chose to come and play with me, I hope to introduce them to something different and new that will carry on for them in their life.
Yes, yes. Well, I would tell you, and of course you're seeing it that volleyball is taking off. I mean, as far as its popularity, as far as the level of athlete that you're getting at a younger age. I have a goddaughter who is already 6 foot, shameless plug, and she is only 12 and a half years old. So, and loves volleyball. absolutely loves it. She's playing with a club program out of Georgia, and you know, her parents, who both play basketball, are just like, "What is this volleyball thing?" You know,
So my
but
parents said.
right. But they are really supporting her, and are saying, "Hey, whenever you decide that you don't want to do this anymore, just let us know." You know, and then that's another thing. So when you talk about the parents having input on what goes on with the student athlete, with the scholar athlete, you know, I sometimes feel like when they're too involved, it kind of retards their progress. But we have to have that fine line between listening to what the parents are saying, you know, as advocates for their children, and then being able to say, or to guide that scholar athlete to stand kind of on their own at the same time, because we know that parent, you know, that helicopter parent is, you know, they've been called, aren't going to always be there
Yeah.
for their kid. And so sometimes, you know, we don't want to get into those verbal battles with the parent trying to make that point, because really at the end of the day, we're taking care of their kids. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. Exactly. And they're going to side with their kids if it's you versus them. Even though that kid never told them the truth in 20 years at that time.
That part.
What can I say? I mean, it's real. So you want to have the parents be able to support you and trust you. And so that communication again with the parent, I think that building that relation, that if something goes sideways with the player and the parent has got to know you, then they can at least say, well, coach doesn't seem like that to me, because they're not in practice. They're not there every day. So they need to know you on another level and what you're about.
Right, which is the other relational part of that actually works to your benefit.
Right.
Absolutely, because and sometimes this the athlete will go, "My mom told me to tell you that she's told me that I need to blah 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 blah," and I and then would say something like, "And I don't appreciate the two of you double teaming."
That's what you want, though.
Exactly. So let's put on our let's take a few steps back a little bit and talk about back in 1995. You were a graduate of University of Hawaii, and you got your bachelor's of arts degree in communication, broadcast communication. You were inducted into the AVCA Hall of Fame in 2008, and is currently the chairperson on that committee. So talk to me about, like, I try to say, because again, with full transparency, I did not have the absolute best experience as a scholar athlete in college. Now, I played for a winning program, played for a phenomenal coach, you know, a Hall of Fame coach, the winningest coach in the country at the time when I was playing for her. You know, our program, you know, was ranked and all this great stuff. But as a scholar athlete, I dealt with depression, didn't even know how to articulate that at the time, and didn't have the best experience, right? So what I try to do is not project that on to my own children or to the scholar athletes that I'm coaching. How do you, when you remember back when you were a player, when you were competing, how do you draw from those experiences in an effective way?
Well, first, in full transparency, I should have graduated in 1985. And I'm also showing my age with that. So going back and finishing in 95 was something that I needed to do. I had left the University of Hawaii and went to the national team before I finished. And back then, if you played for the national team, you were there full time. And so I played on the national team. I went overseas and played. I went back and then got into coaching and realized that me not having a degree was holding back my progress on where I could go and what I wanted to do. And I felt guilty trying to get my own student athletes to go to class and do the things they need to, when yet I know I didn't always do everything I needed to do. You know, it's like, I'm sorry, I know I got class right now, but I got practice. I got to go home and take a nap. The things that I valued, I had to learn the importance of that. And so because I went back, now I have a story. Now
Yes.
I can hold them accountable, and I can tell you don't want to do what I did, but I did go back and get it done. And I also learned that when I went back and I suddenly sat in the front of the class, I have to say it is easier when you're not an athlete, when you just go to school and I'm done with my homework by 2 o'clock and I ain't got to go practice. It was different, but I had a 3.77 GPA in that semester. And, for me, I just realized
Beautiful.
I was capable all that time and I didn't apply myself. So again, my life experiences are nothing if they're not helping somebody else be better. And so I feel like everything that I've encountered in my life, God has used it for me to help somebody else. So even going back 10 years later was about me learning and being able to help others go forward. So that adds to my philosophy, that adds to my mission statement, that adds to what I am doing for other people. And then, the thing they don't prepare you for as a coach is dealing with the depression. Just the depression is just such a small part of what these kids today deal with. Anxiety. I remember when I became a coach and people were dealing with peer pressure. I never felt peer pressure. I didn't even know what that was like. And you don't get a coaching degree that prepares you for the things that you didn't realize even existed as a player. You brought it up. You didn't even know yourself as a player that you were going through that. And us as coaches, if don't know what it's like. So how are we supposed to help our kids? So, just educating ourselves, surrounding ourselves with the right people that can help in those areas become so extremely important. And we know today it's way much more prevalent, but I don't know if it's more prevalent, it's more known. It's more accepted that you're going through this. So we have more resources in place to be able to help kids that are dealing with anything that they're dealing with.
Yes, and that's one thing that I believe is, I mean, there's a lot of different things that have changed.
Right.
But before, because I'm going to ask you about the state of college athletics, but before I ask you about that, I want to have you just talk a little bit about the differences that you're finding between being a head coach versus being an assistant coach, because you were obviously assistant for many years and you became a head coach for many years.
Yeah.
And now you're an assistant again. And so, but I see it a lot. I'm seeing this happen a lot. As a matter of fact, on the basketball side, the Cardoza, who was the head coach for many, many years, just left to become an assistant back at her alma mater, or not at her alma mater, but a place where she formerly worked, UConn, Tanya Cardoza. And, there's a lot of people that are not really privy to the world of coaching, especially at a high level, that are going, why would somebody want to be an assistant after being a head coach for so long? But so talk a little bit about your experience.
But men do it all the time, especially in football or whatever. They recycle as head, then they become a coordinator somewhere else. They go back and forth all the time. And I think the biggest thing I think if you're a person that it's not about you, it's not hard to go back and be an assistant. It's head coach is about the ego of being a head coach more than what you do, because ultimately I still get the chance to pour into my athletes. It's like probably I don't have as much say over my free time.
Right?
Difference.
Sure.
And, I think it's working for the right person that respects the experience that you're bringing in and that you get a chance to use that experience. Otherwise, every assistant position is not the right assistant position. It has to be a chance for you to use the knowledge that you've built over years and help aid somebody else become successful in their own right. And if you can accept that, then the title doesn't matter. It's not, you didn't get into it for the title.
Right.
You don't get it for one, you don't get into volleyball coaching because the money is through the roof, or if you get in it for the title, then is it about the money, or is it about the title, or is it about what you're able to do for kids? So I think having my priorities straight means that I could do whatever position I wanted to do.
Yeah, that's pretty incredible. And also, I know that you have thrust yourself in positions on national committees where you're able to, touch the lives of other young, coaches that are coming up and as well in this field. So there's just so many reasons why I just love and adore you, just
Thank
as
you.
my sister, because you, again, are doing the coaching thing the right way for the right reasons. And again, anybody that has an opportunity to be in your presence, to be coached by you at any level, is very, very fortunate. So, I
Thank you.
do want to have you touch on the state of college athletics. When we were able to enjoy dinner. Has it been a couple months ago now already?
It was June, yeah.
Yeah, when you
Yeah.
when you
Gosh.
I know, right? But it was well, we had a blast,
Yeah, it was nice.
and we had a chance to talk a little bit about how things are so different with the onset of NIL, and now able to have money that
So much
we
money.
just so much that we just didn't have. There's so many things about coaching that have nothing to do with X's and O's
Yeah.
that we know we have to do, that we had to do. But one of the things that I'm hoping is happening at a very aggressive level is teaching financial literacy and financial responsibility.
I mean, I think I know I'm fortunate to be at an institution that provides so much for the student athlete that doesn't even fall on me anymore, where other places it would have. And I think they had to develop programs because they're dealing with so much more now on top of, just the regular day-to-day stresses. Now, you know, some people are choosing to this school because they are offered this and that, but in my opinion, no matter what school you go to, whether you have NIL money or don't have NIL money, there's still so much being provided for the athlete that they need to know how to manage. I feel like we're not with the helicopter parent and the money that we're throwing at them. Do they leave prepared?
Hmm.
And that's kind of the challenge of the university to try to do their part. And that's kind of what you said earlier, is that it's kind of a disservice a little bit from the parents, because they come here, they get money thrown at them, the parents tell them what to do, and then suddenly they're done and they're not prepared. And it's like, okay, you're getting this money now, you need to be responsible for taking care of your laundry and your house. And what are you doing with that money to prepare for you later in life, versus you just got a windful of money and you're buying every Nike shoe under the sun? It's like the choices. And I wish even back in my day that I would have had more guidance on how to do my finances, um, through an athletic way, versus me taking a finance class. I didn't major in finance, so I didn't have a finance class, and I had to kind of figure out stuff along the way. So I think there's so many more resources for our athletes in college, that the universities are doing their part to help prepare. And next should be the parents that are involved in making sure that when they leave here, they are prepared for whatever is next.
So, do you think that the NCAA is, where do you think that their perspective is for the development of said scholar athletes? What do you like? Do you think that is just a byproduct of what everybody's wanting, or everybody meaning the athletes themselves, and many coaches that were really advocating for student athletes, scholar athletes, to be able to earn and own their name, image, and likeness? And again, there were a lot. And so, do you think that the NCAA just kind of folded, or do you think that they are sincerely wanting the best for scholars? And maybe, is that a good question to ask you on this platform?
Well, I think that's a great second question, because see, I have to think about my answer, but when I think about how NIL came to be, it didn't come from the NCAA. The NCAA adapted something that somebody else said needed to happen. And so there wasn't is it best, is it the best practice by the view of the NCAA? It's like the NCAA just followed along what California put in place. And I do think more research needs to be done. I think every coach was, I can't say, a lot of coaches were concerned what NIL was going to do. And I think people are getting out of the profession because of what NIL does. I think it affects men way more than it affects women, because there's only going to be a handful of women that are going to get really, really big deals. You know, we're seeing the swimmer that now it's not about her being a great swimmer. It's about how she looks, you know, and she's getting great money. Or the basketball player from LSU that now is making more money being a college student than, so why leave and go play professional when I'm making more money here? And granted, she's a great player. She won a national championship. That's great. Does that money go away if somebody else wins a national championship next year? You know, it's like, what are you doing with that? Because now you're saying that you're getting paid for your name, image, and likeness. That all has a time limit. Yeah, it expires. As we all know, right? It's like, okay, I feel fortunate to have done, you know, some nice things in my career, but that's the past. It doesn't define me today. And they're being defined by their name, image, and their likeness today. Mm-hmm. And somebody else will be in their place tomorrow.
No doubt. And, you know, nor should it. It should not define you. You know, one of my mentors told me, and she became a very pivotal person, an important person in my life, and I didn't even realize it at the time how much she would be, which is typically what happens when we're young adults. People that make the biggest impact, we just, you know, we have no idea that they're going to do that. But, you know, I'll say her name, Linda Keene, said, never rest on your past laurels. Yes. And we had that conversation. I was sitting in her office at the time when she was my mentor, or she still is, but at the time when we first met, she was the highest ranking person in corporate America as the vice president with American Express Financial Services. Mm-hmm. And, you know, I was just always in awe of the fact that she would take time to put me in her schedule for her but she was very intentional about me visiting her at her office so that she could see the environment, she could see how she led, I could see how she was leading, I could see, you get a little a snapshot of her day to day and things of that nature. Mm-hmm. But she was helping me to really basically create my resume, because as athletes, we have very little work experience typically when we're getting ready to do something outside of athletics, right? And I'm going to ask you a question about that, which is kind of my after the whistle question for you. But so during this time when we're recrafting my resume, you know, she told me to, you know, bring in what I had. And of course, I've got all these athletic accolades listed on my resume. And when she's telling me to remove many of them, I'm like, I'm kind of getting an attitude. I'm like, well, you don't understand because you've never been a collegiate athlete. These things are very important. And then she just with her kind eyes, but very stern at the same time, she said, you don't want to rest on your past laurels. You're going to want to create other great things that you'll do. She said so. And I'm so glad that I took that advice and, you know, just listened. And I'm just glad that the Lord put somebody like her in my life so that I would listen. Right. Because, you know, you kind of have to also be careful with who you're listening to. You know, you always have to consider the source. And I had a great source to consider and still do to this day. And so I'm really thankful for that. But as you are looking at, or as you've looked at other things that you've done besides coaching, because you've done a ton of things besides coaching, you know, what has been something that has stood out or that stands out the most as very important to you as Deitre Collins and taking the coach's hat off? Collins-Parker. Sorry about that.
Although
Sorry about that, Dale.
Hey, I was Collins longer than I was Parker, so he gets it.
Right, right.
I would say I'm no longer on the ABCA board, but when I sat on the board as a minority coaches rep, I was able to do programming to help young minority females just kind of get some guidance. We set up mentor programs. We did additional program at our ABCA convention that was geared towards a young person getting into the coaching field that has never had direction. And said it was the minority coaches, so it was for them, and it was all minorities, and it was just so fulfilling to see those young men and women go on and continue in the field and see where they're at. And it's like to think that, you know, maybe when they got a chance to listen to somebody about resume writing, that helped them be able to then go get a job, because there wasn't programming that at our convention. This convention has a lot of good information for coaches about, you know, coaching and different things about coaching, but we were more focused on, hey, here's how you carry yourself. Here's somebody to help you with a resume. Here's how you interview, or hey, here's how you teach the skill, versus just saying, this is on the University of blah, 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 and this is what we do. It's like, well, here's, if you don't have those athletes, you know, and you've got to be good at this. So alternative programming, I thought, was awesome. I had a great group of people that on a committee with me. I was able to incorporate people that I know and trusted that were going to care as much as I cared to want to help the young minority athlete just be able to have a chance to thrive in our profession.
Right, right. So tell me, what is the one thing that you love to do that has absolutely nothing to do with athletics? And that includes the mentoring. Like, what is if you had to think about.
It doesn't include coaching.
It doesn't include coaching, doesn't include mentoring, doesn't include anything that has to do with athletics.
Take photos.
Which you are really great at.
I'm learning. It's like, you know, it's funny because my boss at San Diego State one time had to force me to take a vacation, because I just felt like if I had free time, I should be working. And so when I started taking a vacation, I started loving vacations, traveling. It's like I mentioned, that I felt so fortunate as an athlete to travel the world, that when I decided to take a vacation, now I can continue to travel the world and enjoy it from a different view, not just from a volleyball gym. But my Olympic team coach, whenever we visited a new country, he made sure that we knew something about it. And so I enjoy learning other cultures, exploring new places, seeing new things. And then I picked up photography as a hobby a few years ago. And it's like all the places I've been, to be able to document them with my camera is something that is near and dear to my heart. Like, it's really interesting, because you go out and you see a sunset. It's like, this is beautiful. I want to pull out my camera and take a picture of this beauty. And I think you can easily stop recognizing the beauty that's around you, which there's beauty everywhere and anywhere. Yes. And now that I'm behind a camera, I'm always looking for something that catches my eye that I wouldn't have noticed before. Being here in Tucson, the number of saguaro cactus, and it's like, you think of Arizona and cactus, but not to the magnitude of what I've seen here. And I just want to get the great picture of an amazing cactus flower, or I have a picture on my wall that I took of the Grand Canyon, because that represents Arizona to me. And so I don't know. I think it's just being more a broader person than just a coach, by just tapping into other senses and other things that I kind of missed along the way for a while. And I credit that to my coach that said, hey, we're going to Japan and you're going to learn these words, and we're going to go out and we're going to have a Japanese dinner and sit here with the Japanese team and get to know them. And I went to Russia. It's like the places that I've been are just crazy, but I didn't just go. I got to experience them. And so, again, my goal in life is to have other people experience those too that never got to see it. So,
Nice,
yeah.
nice. Well, before we get you out of here, I want you to share your inspirational quote. Well, that's one thing we ask our guests is to share an inspirational quote. So if you want to read that to
Yes.
our guests and then tell us why it's so inspirational for you.
For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you a hope and a future. Jeremiah 29:11. And it's just always been my go-to. It's like, I think sometimes the hard thing is in coaching is that you lose a job. And, it's like it's about how you respond, and it's about staying hopeful. And that's what this um, passage is. It's about knowing that God has a bigger plan than anything that you ever planned. You losing that job was in his plan because he has something else better for you. And that's a day-to-day reminder when things are tough or you thought you knew what was going to happen next, but God had a different plan. And I remember doing a talk one time, actually, when I first got to Cornell, to I forgot, a high school, I believe, a high school athletics banquet I talked to. And I named the talk Who'd Have Thought? Because
Nice.
the places that I ended up were not things that I planned, but yet here I was. And if I wouldn't have walked through the doors that opened, I would have been still back there trying to think that I knew what I needed to do. And so I'm confident that I'm where I'm supposed to be. When, like you said, being a head coach, being an assistant, I'm where I'm supposed to be. And I have to embrace that and walk into God's plan for me and stop trying to make plans.
Well, I always say that, how to make God giggle. Tell him your
Tell them your
plans.
plan. It's like,
Well,
yeah,
listen,
right. Got
yeah,
you.
well, listen, sister, this has been such a wonderful conversation,
Thank you. I
and
enjoyed it.
this is probably one of the best jobs that I could have ever taken, or run project that I could taken upon myself. Is I get to just have really great conversations with millions of people,
What a blessing.
with people who I just admire and love so much. And thank you for everybody for just being you. And
you.
I'm grateful to Dale for knowing that he needed us to be sisters and introducing us. And I look forward to him. He's got a phenomenal story. I'm looking forward to
He
him
does.
being on Coach Leah's After the Whistle here in an upcoming episode. And so stay cool out there. I have a lot of nerve saying that living
That's
here
not
in
possible.
Texas right now. I know, but much success to you. And
Thank you.
you're at Arizona State and
No, U of A. Oops, other side. U of
University of
A.
Arizona. Oh, I did it again. Oh my gosh. University of Arizona. University of Arizona. University of Arizona. I
Oh,
got
Leah,
it.
can I answer? A question came across the screen about, did I play for Coach Williams? Yes, and that is me. So the answer to that question is yes.
Oh, awesome. Thank you for addressing that question. Thank you so much.
Wow.
All right, hon. Well, we
All
got to
right,
get you out of
thank you.
here, and we
Alrighty.
have another guest that we are going to talk with here now in just a moment. But before we go there, I just wanted to take a minute to talk about my pink attire for today. And this was in honor of going to see Barbie. And I had a mommy-daughter day with my two, I call them my pretties. They're my adult daughters, Chelsea and Monet. And we had a chance to together just spend time together, and it's been so fun with this whole Barbie movie. People are showing up in their pink, and it's just a lot of fun. So be looking for some more information and some pictures in my paper, my column in the paper Insight News here soon. So, well, let me tell you a little bit about my next guest, and his name is Markus Stevenson. A little bit about Markus. He is a dynamic and results-driven individual with the cutting edge in the working in the cutting edge world of software. He brings the same unwavering focus to his thriving career in the software industry as he did as a basketball player in college. He is a proud alumni of an HBCU university that he'll tell you about, and feels very committed to empowering the next generation of students. Bring in Markus Stevenson.
Hello, Coach Leah. Thanks for having me today.
Oh, absolutely. How are you? It's been a minute.
Yes, I know. Everything's been going great. Having a great weekend. I'm excited to be on the show. How's everything with you?
Everything is, oh my gosh. I always say when people say, so, what are you doing? And I'm like, nothing and everything. Because sometimes I feel like I just can't focus on what's in front of me because there's so many things that are coming, very swiftly. Or that's what's happening presently because there's so many things coming in that are in front of me, and so that I've got to attack. So, but thank you for asking that question. Before we get too much into what you're doing, I wanted to take this time publicly to thank you for your contributions to a few of our articles for Insight News. I look forward to you doing some more writing with us and doing some things where you'll take the lead and just do your own, take on a topic that you'll write your own piece on. But you've been an amazing contributor, and I'm very, very grateful.
Yes, I appreciate you giving me the platform to contribute, because it's been a dream of mine since a kid, being able to help write sports articles. So having that platform has been an amazing opportunity.
Oh, well, awesome. Well, we got a lot more work to do, so just be ready. Be ready. But I don't know, because I'd heard that you've just gotten a new position.
Yes.
So talk a little bit about that.
Yes, so I'm taking a new position as a forecasting business partner in a different area within my company at SAP. So I'm looking forward to starting that new journey on August 1st, which is next Tuesday. So I've been currently onboarding my current role and getting prepared for that.
Okay, so what do you think that the onboarding is going to look like?
The first, I'd say, month or two is going to be a lot of learning, really meeting our key stakeholders, understanding the strategy of my position, understanding the strategy of my team, and best, helping me get up to speed with that, learning all the processes, understanding, what the best way to drive results, and understanding what the person before me did and how I could best carry it forward from here.
Okay, so what made you, talk to me about the knowledge that you gained from being an athlete and how that has translated into your career in business.
So one of the biggest things I'd say is persistence and being able to adapt, to unforeseen circumstances. I definitely and also having grit as well. Sometimes, there are and throughout the work, work months and weeks, it can be very, tough, and being able to persist through that and being able to find ways to come up with creative solutions to achieve business objectives. That's something I really value for my time as an athlete. And also being able to think strategically and being able to, being a captain during my experience, being able to communicate the vision of your coach to the other team members and helping them to all get on board to execute.
Execute, that's a great word. And I know as a coach, we use that quite often, because it's all about the execution for that. That's for sure. So which HBCU did you attend?
So I attended Lincoln University of Pennsylvania, which is actually known as the first degree granting HBCU.
Wow, that has amazing historical context. What made you select that university?
Yeah, so my father actually went there, and after I graduated from junior college, Lincoln University was a great school, and they offered me a basketball scholarship, and I realized that was the best place that fit with what I was looking for to continue my education, and also opportunity.
So many times people try to discredit HBCUs as, them being, second class and things of that nature. I happen to also have earned a degree. I earned my MBA from an HBCU, Texas Southern University. And so I'm very, very proud of that. And that's after attending for undergrad, PWI, as well as another PWI at the University of St. Thomas for a teaching certification. So being able to value my experience in HBCU and know how that has prepared me for life in my career, you know, there's just so much I credit from my experience in the HBCU. So describe your experience at your HBCU at Lincoln, and how has that helped you to adapt quickly to being in your career life?
Yes, coming into Lincoln University, I had very high expectations of the campus, the people there. But as soon as I came on, like I was further impressed than I could even imagine. Like just the endless opportunities that the campus offered, the amazing teachers, how they were so hands-on, and really like, you tell them your goals you have for your career, they really go out their way and go above and beyond helping you to achieve them. Just like just a great resource the campus has to offer. So, like I definitely am a big advocate for students attending HBCUs, especially like I feel like it's a great place to really grow, find yourself, and have the resources to really, develop and achieve your dreams. And, throughout that experience, I really feel like it definitely did prepare me for the corporate world, through like all my amazing teachers really walking me through the things that it took to succeed in that area and give me the necessary resources to do that.
So I know, like, the first time we had a chance to meet, and both of us are members of the Black Sports Professionals, the Houston chapter, and that's where we met. And great organization. If anybody is a sports professional, there is a chapter in your city or near your city, or you can join at the national level. I highly recommend that you do so. The thing that I admired so quickly about you was your wanting to give back. And so without disclosing, how old or / how young you are, the fact that you value that, like you want to help future professionals. I mean, that's the thing that I feel like that drives you. Talk a little bit about why that drives you.
Yeah, so that's a big driver for me because, like, me coming up over the years, like I pretty much wouldn't be where I am today without the help of the people before me. So, people like yourself, like a lot of my other mentors have really taken the time to pour into me. And, like without that, I couldn't, achieve a lot of things I've done. So with that being said, like I really look forward to, pouring into the next generation, helping them to, avoid some obstacles and either find ways to accelerate to their career paths and exceed me down the line. So that's really what I'm driven to do, continue to help the community and add value that way.
Nice. Well, before we let you go, I do want you to share your inspirational quote. And, you folks, Coach Leah is After the Whistle. You're probably seeing a theme here with inspiration, positivity. That's something we're going to drive each and every week. So please, if you would, Markus, can you please read your quote and then talk a little bit about why that's so important for you?
Yes, so my quote is, "Success is not counted by how high you climb, but by how many people you take with you," by Dr. Will Rose. So, with this quote, like, a lot of people evaluate success by how far they go, but my biggest way to evaluate is by how many people you take with you. So like being able to help raise their village up, help them to achieve their goals, that means it's much more meaningful than achieving individual success. So that's something I try to really live by and try to really help to empower others.
Well, look, I'm going to drop the mic on that. I have nothing else to say with that. That is so phenomenal. So, Markus, thank you so much. Listen, there are some other things that you have an expertise in, so you've got to promise to come back and visit us as a featured guest on Coach Leah's After the Whistle so that we can do a little bit of a deeper dive into what you know in the space of NIL, as well as your work in the software industry. Can you promise me that?
Yes, definitely. I'd love to.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Well, listen, people, that does it for another episode of Coach Leah's After the Whistle. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe at Insight News or Black Press USA. You can watch this again on demand anytime on either of those platforms. Listen to us on Spotify, on Apple, on Amazon, or I've been hearing that there are other podcast platforms that we're popping up on, and so I'm really grateful for that. But be sure to follow us. Next week's show is sure to be just as impactful. And maybe I'll get some glasses by next week. Well, have an amazing rest of your week, and bye-bye now.